and thank you for having me here. So yes, I would like to speak about a project that we are doing here around the corner. I'm Alex Ziza, head of passenger programs and running the R&D center here for Hyperloop transportation technology. So I think I can take this one. No, this one, yes. So what's the Hyperloop? There is many things published on the press, and with good things and less good things. So let's review a little bit what the Hyperloop is. First, you take a tube and you shoot capsules with passengers or goods every minute, 40 seconds, or even better in the future. And you transform power energy into kinetic energy, and you recover your energy at the end. So you have a system that intrinsically has a low energy consumption. That's on the paper at least. And of course, thanks to the tube, you are very much protected also from the outside, and we'll get back to that. And you can use the tube, like here on that picture, to gather energy, so that in the event we would need more energy than on the paper, we can compensate that energy consumption with reusable energy production. That's just in very few words the Hyperloop. It's a very old idea. This idea of transporting people and goods in tubes is over 100 years old. The fact that you want to remove the air because you are traveling at very low pressure is an obvious benefit. You don't need to do high studies to understand that by removing the first source of energy consumption, you will improve that. So that's basically the concept. Why are we doing this? Because when you put some figures on the Excel sheet, you realize that you can have a pretty good business case for a transportation solution that will not require public funding. So the door opener for the Hyperloop, and the reason to exist of the Hyperloop, is to build a transportation infrastructure that has very low requirements. You don't need the taxpayers' money to finance it. And that's your door opener. And we get back how we get to that conclusion. The second aspect, so it's the energy efficiency that we already mentioned. It's pretty good, especially for the speeds. And it becomes a necessity. Another aspect is the speed, actually. So the speed, we are, from an aerodynamic standpoint, from a physical standpoint, we can reach pretty high speeds, such as 1,200 kilometers per hour, which makes it pretty interesting when you think how some cities have been transformed by connecting them to metropoles, thinking of France and Paris, for example, connected by the TGV. Reims has become nearly the suburbs of Paris, thanks to the TGV. So you can extend that concept with the Hyperloop. So in a very few words, this is what we do when we discuss the Hyperloop. So the tube is very central in that concept, and beyond the benefits of the tube, that you can remove the air and that you can protect your capsule, you can also very much control everything inside the tube, the full environment. When you think about it, a train, an aircraft, a car, a bus, they are all moving in open environment. It means that you need to integrate a lot of technologies, a lot of systems to protect it from everything that can happen from the external. For some of you that have visited us here in Francazal, you can see how much the tubes protects your system from the outside. It's extremely protective, and in turn it allows us to not need many systems that you have on a train, such as anti-wind system on car, like anti-collision systems on aircraft, all the systems you need to cross, for example, a cloud. You don't need all those systems thanks to that very controlled environment you have inside the tube. So this is the purpose of the main purpose of the tube. It also allows for a design with a very small footprint. For when you build a new road, you literally cut your land in two parts. Okay, so if you have animals, these kind of things, you are cutting your environment in two parts, and we don't need to do it because the tube is has a pretty good mechanical behavior and can be used as a beam, and so you just need some pylons to support your tube, and it allows us to offer a solution with a very low footprint. So when you cross, for example, a field of a farmer, you are not cutting this field in two, you are just needing some square meters of his field, and he can pass below the tube and continue his operation normally. It's even better than that. We are putting a little bit of additional effort, and we say that this infrastructure should bring more added value than just the transportation. So we are working, for example, at gathering power with solar panel, for example, power that you can give back to your farmer, for example. If you are in the desert, you can gather some humidity from the air and give it to the people. So if you anticipate in your design some additional features to your infrastructure, you really can improve the added value that infrastructure has locally, so that it does not only serve the people that are using it for transport. The capsule, we had to select a size. You don't need to make very strong studies to imagine that the longer your capsule and the more passenger you put in your capsule, the better your business case looks like. So we had to make some choices, and today we are looking at capsules 28 to 40 passengers. It's pretty different to an aircraft, even though for passenger, when you will be inside, it will have some similarity to an aircraft. Okay, it will be pressurized. You are in a circular, cylindrical shape. The good thing is we have a blank page, so we are putting a lot of focus on passenger experience. So we look beyond just the seats, the lights, and the lining. We also look at how to recognize the passenger and provide as much personalized service as we can inside the capsule. And we can do it because we have a blank page, and yeah, the new system can be integrated with those directly. So, how you transfer passengers and goods from the external to the capsule? We use stations, so that could be compared something in between a metro station and airport gate. Okay, it's exactly in between, and it must be capable of connecting with other means of transportation. So there is no point for the Hyperloop. I mean, you could in theory do Toulouse, Paris in 25 minutes or 30 minutes, but there is no point if you need to travel 1 hour to get to your station outside Toulouse or Paris. So we must be completely integrated to existing infrastructure, such as airports and train stations. To give you a little bit of insight of what we do, we are not looking at developing new individual technology. The innovation is more the assembly, the integration of all those technologies. So we take off-the-shelf technologies that we integrate, and the innovation is in that integration. To give you an example, we are doing vacuum with systems that exist since pretty long. You use them in the industry. You use it for the CERN, especially, you know, the particle accelerator. So it's completely standard technologies. The acceleration and braking, we use linear electromagnetic motors, so standard technologies. The levitation, we have an exclusivity license for what we call a passive levitation using Laplace currents. So it's we're using pretty standard technologies. But what has never been done is put as much power into an electromagnetic motor in the vacuum. You have high voltages, you have high power, you have heat, you are in low pressure environment with low heat exchanges, and this environment has never been studied. So the innovation is there in the integration. But having a capsule moving around in the vacuum inside the tube is not the most difficult part. The most difficult part is we also have a green field in terms of safety. Today, we do not have the luxury of losing a test pilot every week like our ancestral could 150 years ago. It has to be safe, and it has to be at the highest level of safety right away. So safety is really our most strongest focus for now, and even more so since we need to do a bit more than just demonstrate that it's safe. Of course, we need to demonstrate that it's safe, but we also need to make sure that in front of us we will have authorities and we will have a regulation that allows for validating that we are safe, because without authorities and without regulation, no one will let us transport people. Okay, so we are working with the Department of Transport of the United States. We are working very closely with the European Commission. We have proposed a text. We have proposed a first draft that could become a regulation, and we are working. We have started to work on the demonstrations of on the safety. Of course, that's the biggest part, and that's from a technical standpoint, our biggest challenge. So what did we achieve to date? To date, we have a functioning test facility in Francazal. We already started some tests. We do the vacuum test for now. Pretty soon we will start to do the propulsion test. And at the end, what everyone is expecting next year, we will be testing the capsule fully equipped inside the tube. The different technologies are now working, we know this, and so now for us the point is to test it integrated, full scale, and this is what we do here just around the corner in Toulouse, in a beautiful place of Francazal that has also a lot of history, and we are very proud to be modest followers of our predecessors there. So the nice thing here in Toulouse, and the less junior people here in this room will have known that. And again, I'm very modest with this, but I think that what you have here in the region is something pretty special that have allowed for people to develop the aircrafts, the airplanes 100 years ago. Concorde 40, 50 years ago. Yeah, and today, modestly, we are doing something that is much, much simpler when you, in terms of technical challenge. That is the Hyperloop, but the environment is amazing to do it, to develop it. Thank you very much for your attention.